Good afternoon, guys. Thank you for joining me again. So the real reason why nobody seems to be able to stop the boats coming into the United Kingdom, I think, has just been announced. And remember, when we're looking at speculating on future events, we've got to look what's in the weeds right now. We've got to look what's been announced now and how these things can develop. You know, the best example of this is the F-16s in Ukraine, how I said, these things are never going to be flown by Ukrainian pilots. There's going to be a call for NATO pilots, and they're going to be part of the International Legion. Months later, that happened. And the reason I understood that was because of, a benign comment that was made by a Polish pilot months before any of this was even in the mainstream. So you've got to look what's happening now and what's happening in the climate right now. Just so everybody knows that to stop the boats coming into the United Kingdom, it would be so easy. You would put warships basically on the channel between England and France, right on the border. And then as a boat was approaching said warship, you would go and intercept it and then tow it back to France. You're allowed to do that, guys. And I've spoken to some people who have a good understanding of this. And my understanding of this is that you can do that under international law, because any vessel of the crown has the right and responsibility to tow any vessel in distress back to the nearest shore. So this could all be done, guys, legally, above board, and without any casualties. There'd actually be less harm to the people on the boats, because they don't as soon as the British ships saw them coming out towards them, they're obviously in an unworthy sea vessel, and they can then be towed back to the French shore, which would be the closest shore. So that's the legalities as it's been explained to me. That could happen tomorrow, real quick. So now we know that this is, this can be done, this can be stopped. There's a lot of other reasons, but still, we plow money into France, saying, we're going to come to an agreement with France to stop these people. It's just never going to happen. Now, if we cast our minds back I think early this year, a lot of people were saying, that these migrants, basically, these were going to be part of a military or part of a police force, because the indigenous police force, and we was looking at Texas here, because the indigenous police force won't fight among themselves. For example, if one police force, and we was looking at Texas here, basically the state of Texas, they've got their operation, their military operation where they've militarized the border. As I understand it, Joe Biden sent down federal military to go and stop it. The Texans said, no, we're not doing that. And then the Americans said, look, we're not fighting with Americans. We're not going to start a force-on-force war here. So we're not doing it. And then the question came out, okay, if you had an army that was full of migrants, who would they be loyal to? Would they be loyal to whoever's paying them, or would they be loyal to their fellow country peoples? So that was kind of the argument. And people were saying this in the UK. It was a dark day, and it was, I was thinking about this, and I was thinking, could this actually happen? Could it happen? What would be the benefits of this? Now, if you're looking at the casualty rate of the war in Ukraine, some estimates are that there's been 1 million people lost. Some estimates are a lot lower. But, but what we can, be absolutely sure of, the attrition rate is absolutely huge. So when we're looking at this mass loss, where are we going to get the people from? Because, the British military has been degraded over the last, 14, 15 years, because it's easy to cut the military, because the military follow orders. You go to the general, you say, right, general, I want you to cut, cut me 10 million from your budget. He'll say, okay, I'll cut 10 million, and that 10 million will get cut. If you go say to a train drivers union, cut me 10 million for off your budget, they'll say, no, actually, you owe us another 20 million. So that's just the reality of the situation. Now, I'm going to read you, and I'm going to share with you actually an article from 2 days ago, I think. No, not that one. Elite soldiers driving for Deliveroo. Afghan soldiers blocked from joining British Army they fought alongside. So just to be clear, guys, before we go on, there are no elite Afghan soldiers, all right? It's an oxymoron, all right? They're average at best. Highly trained army personnel who trained with the UK Special Forces have been hindered by strict eligibility requirements, leaving them to work as cleaners or Deliveroo drivers. So here's the thing in the weeds now. The media are starting to report on this here, the eligibility requirements. And this is going to be the argument. Former Major General Mihramad Azimi led nearly 9,000 Afghan Special Forces units. I think that's a typo. I think he just means Special Forces soldiers, because there's certainly not 9,000 Special Forces units in the world, while fighting the Taliban, but now struggles to find full-time work after moving to London, the London suburb of Harrow. The elite soldiers he led now either unemployed or working as cleaners, taxi drivers, or for Deliveroo, the takeaway delivery company. Again, terribly written, according to a report by the Times. More than 800 former Afghan soldiers could potentially serve in the British Armed Forces, estimates Shakira Barakazi, a former member of parliament in Afghanistan who fled in 2001. This comes as the British Army faces a recruitment crisis, losing soldiers at an unsustainable rate. So what you've got now is the conversation that's been started about having these elite Afghan soldiers join the military. And the argument is solid, it really is. We've got Afghan Special Forces who've already worked with the British forces. They know the grouping system. They know how to operate in the British military. They understand the British ranking structure, and they were fine working as a unit under the British command in Afghanistan. Now, just for context, these Special Forces Afghanis, whatever they're calling them, these guys were heavily mentored by British so you would have 8 Afghanis or maybe 10 Afghanis, and you would have a strong section commander, and then they would be, commanding the unit, the unit of 8 essentially. So, they are a force multiplier. I get that. Nick Ferrari's breakfast show told us that, right, okay. The soldiers share the same expertise and commitment, they blatantly don't, as British forces, and worked with for more than a decade inside Afghanistan. They are not new, she said to the soldiers, but I've been working with the British soldiers for more than a decade. Where is it? Where do we go, guys? And the article goes on and it says that you can't join the British military unless, here we are, guys. So you've got to be in the United Kingdom for over 5 years before you can apply to join the military. Now, what I think is going to happen, and this is me speculating, and we've got to say it's speculation, but look at the seeds that are being sown already. These seeds for this, migrant army, they're already being sown, and I'll share the article in the description. But what you're going to see happen is you're going to see this conversation develop. You're going to see arguments, and then you're going to see the lowering of the bar to join the British military. That's going to be fine because they're going to claim that this is just to get the Afghans in, the Afghan nationals. And then that's, and it'll just be, we've got 800 special forces, Afghan special forces. And then it's going to be, okay, well, were you special forces? What is special forces? What do we mean by special forces? And that bar is just going to get lowered, manipulated, changed. And crucially, at the end of this, we're going to have a situation, I believe, where migrants are being given a pass, what's the word I'm looking for? Migrants are given a way to stay in the United Kingdom by joining the military and going and fighting in Eastern Europe. Guys, I did a video recently about this, about what happened in America in the American Civil War, when the Irish were coming over in droves and droves and droves. These people were literally, there's a scene on that movie with, I want to say, it's not Brad Pitt, Leonardo DiCaprio. And they get off the boat, these Irish migrants, and they say, right, sign there for your citizenship, sign there for you join the army, go fight for your country. So, you know, that kind of in my head, that's just what I'm seeing at the moment. You know, I think there was an incentive for them. I think if you could avoid conscription if you was in the United States by paying $300 to an Irish migrant, and then that Irish migrant would then go and take your place. But what history has told us, these ranks fall very soon. They're the first to surrender, they're the first to retreat, and they don't really hold ground. However, if we look at the context of Ukraine and the war in Ukraine, this could really be an absolute disaster. By disaster, I mean huge loss of life. Anyway, guys, that's it. I just wanted to put those seeds out there for you guys. Tell me what you think. Don't forget to like and share if you've not done, guys, already. It really helps me out when you do that. Anyway, guys, I'm going to mag to grid because we're using our barbecue smoker tonight. I'll speak to you guys soon.